Welcome to the Bodcast, episode 7. And today we're going to be discussing training, nutrition, lifestyle on a budget, because cost of living everywhere is a bit crazy. And if you listen to our last episode about supplements, wow, you can drop a couple $100 easy, on supplements. And so we want to just talk you through ways you can go about muscle building or ways you can go about optimizing your health where you don't need to be spending big bucks. So we really hope you find this episode useful. I think I will.
Yeah, so
Leon is
just putting the pop filter.
Am I popping?
No, it helps with the sound.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things where we got this sort of global cost of living crisis, world high inflation, but the reality is, in Africa, inflation's been massive for a long time, and basics keep getting more expensive, and there's a lot, and even outside of that, a lot of young people, we've all been there, like being a student and trying to get fit and eat enough protein and train, but you're on a very tight resources. So it's trying to work out where to spend your money and what to spend your money on and not to spend your money on. I think that's where the main budgeting is. It's like what gives you more bang for your buck in terms of where I would spend my money.
Yeah, and I guess we'll also talk about sort of, with your trading, like gym, or if you want to invest in home equipment as well, like what we'd recommend for that. So let's start with training and equipment, shall we? I mean, the UK is great because you've got such good, I'd say, budget gyms.
Loads of gyms. I mean, good and cheap. So for instance, the gym I'm using costs £20 a month, which is what, 3,000 shillings
a month.
And it's huge. It's like a giant, warehousey type thing. It's got like lots of equipment, hundreds of cardio pieces. It's it's got sauna, it's got changing rooms, and it's not expensive, so and there's cheaper gyms than that, and that's the UK. Now Kenya, obviously, a lot of gyms are a lot more expensive. You've got Smart Gym, which is probably in the same sort of ballpark here.
Now they took it higher, so it's about 5,500. So it's gone up.
So it used to be 3,000, didn't it?
It's gone into the slightly more expensive range of gyms, but not bad considering.
I was gonna say it's not huge. There's some that still charge like 10k a month.
It's like from eight. Your gyms are expensive because you get from 8 to, I guess, even 20. So
I don't know what like not Village Market.
Say Dojo.
Westlands one.
Gyms, I guess.
Yeah, like the healthcare, the health club place in Westgate, which is probably the top end, because it's like a health club, swimming pools and stuff. So so that's probably the range. You've got probably local gyms through all the way to to somewhere like Westgate or a country club where you got to join there. So you don't need to spend a lot on the gym. You don't. As long as you've got some core equipment. Now I would, if you're really on a tight budget, I would probably look around for just buying some dumbbells and barbells and a bench. And starting like most people do, start at home in your garden. And even like most people, when you listen to the episode with Eddie Abu, where start with a concrete
the concrete
dumbbells, standard for a lot of guys in Kenya and Africa, some very good bodybuilders like William Bonac.
Yeah, everyone's.
He started there. A lot of guys started like that in the neighborhood yards, be a friend's yard or a place with guys who train with concrete.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started in my bedroom. I mean, you could do a cost comparison because take into account wherever you are, like your journey to and from the gym as well, in terms of your time and traffic, because fuel,
Yep.
very
Or
expensive.
Matatu fees or public
Yeah.
transport fees.
Put that all in and then do a cost comparison to buying like some dumbbells. Get those adjustable ones because even though they're a pain in the ass, you will get more bang for your buck with them. And yeah, see what will cost you more. And it's, you can achieve a good physique at home, like with
Like,
adjustable
you can do great.
a
Good
bench.
bench, barbell and dumbbells, and if you get adjustable ones, you can start adding as you go. You get more and more plates.
Yeah.
Now, you can start with the basic moves. And if you get a bench as a leg extension, even better, like leg extension or leg curl, even better. But you can do a lot at home, be it from lunges. You can do a lot without weight initially. You do some time under tension, wall sits and things like that, especially legs, press ups, pull ups, and a lot of people start that way and then get the dumbbells. So I would say if you can afford it, get the dumbbells. If you can't afford that, you can also see what's laying around the house. You can put hands in a bag. I thought that during lockdown. You can fill water bottles up.
Yeah.
All you need is a load.
Yeah. And that's
That's essentially it. Like, you see guys working on building sites and stuff, or farm labourers. When I was growing up playing a lot of rugby, guys who worked and lived on farms were always the strongest guys.
Yeah.
They're lifting. Like, I remember my granddad, super strong. Working, having a farm and working on a farm, lifting and moving everything from hay bales, just shows you don't need a gym to build muscle. You just need a load.
Yeah.
And be able to progress that load.
Yeah, keep doing it over and over again.
A good place to look as well, especially in Nairobi, is like on Facebook, like the expat.
Oh, yes.
People who are leaving often sell their equipment for really good prices. I'm not
almost throwaway price.
Yeah, so it's so good to just look there because benches can be expensive.
Oh, they are.
Like a good adjustable bench can cost you almost 30,000 more.
Yeah.
So you can just be on the lookout for sales because an adjustable bench is so useful.
Yeah, if you've got a bit of money, you can go to a shop, go to Decathlon, get a set. Cheap and cheerful. The reality is, it's going to probably cost you 20,000.
Yeah, for the bench. And
then you can get something, but it's also knowing what type of bench to get.
Yeah.
You can get a bench, but then you'll need some stands for a barbell if you're going to be doing chest press and stuff. But these are things you can build to. You can start with, the minimum. You can start with floor presses without a bench with a set of dumbbells.
Yeah.
You can, just get. I would probably start with the dumbbells.
Yeah.
And then move to a bench, then buy a barbell.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was even going to say, I think to start, if you have some form of suspension trainer, doesn't need to be a TRX because they can be.
What is like 3K? It's very affordable.
And then dumbbells. I was just thinking now, like there's nothing you can't do. You're sorted.
Maybe a resistance band.
Yeah.
Which is like 700 shillings.
I say if you've got a place to do pull-ups, you can get a metal bar just put in for many fundi.
Yeah.
Or even sometimes you can just find something that you can pull up on. Just be careful it doesn't snap something. It's
Because
not someone's pipe.
I'm thinking if you're training in the house, maybe you live in an apartment, concrete weights can be
maybe
can be a hustle. So
I would probably avoid concrete weights.
Yeah, if you have like a small backyard, then you can make your
little balcony area can work.
Yeah, because they do chip and they do make the like guys used to call them like hardcore gyms because they're just grungy and dusty, and that's because of the way the weights look.
The effort going into making a concrete weight is probably a lot more than just going to Decathlon.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like if you're on a say budget and you live in an apartment, then your dumbbells, nice suspension trainer, you'll be good.
Bands,
And
mat.
Yeah. That
Get something softer.
yeah, maybe dumbbell set that's even less than 10K there.
The adjustable ones, I think, are maybe 4,000.
Yeah, and the thing is, if you're just starting, you don't need a lot of weight.
Yeah,
I mean, you can just keep buying plates. And,
Yeah.
and then if you're smart, save even 1,000, 2,000 a month, and every 3-4 months you have enough to increase your dumbbells.
But even that's the point. It's like you could save 500, 200 to 500, and a couple.
Yeah.
You just add like small weights, or just by 6 months a year, you've got enough then to buy an actual bigger set or a barbell. The fact is, even in this economy, trying to get someone to save 1,000 shillings
Oh yeah,
could even be a lot,
true.
But if you just save something, towards it, because I would say, as it's probably moved on to nutrition, food is going to be where you want to spend money almost more than, because as I said, as long as you've got a load, you can build muscle, but that only works if you're getting enough protein.
True.
And I think that's where the hard bit is, and everyone's got lucky in places like Kenya and Africa as a whole that takeaway food and convenience food is more expensive.
Yeah, true.
Like fresh food is actually cheaper. If you know people who maybe have farms, shambas where they, sell chickens and stuff, you can get good deals on bulk buying things.
Yeah.
And I think that's because it's something I've done with feeding my dogs. I bulk buy from chicken farms, everything from whole chickens, including all the guts and stuff. And I can get it cheap. The ones that have probably been in the freezer crushed a bit because they don't want to sell them in shops because they look a bit misshapen. I'll buy those up for the dogs on the cheap, but they're all even humanly edible. I've been in my house where we've ran out of. I forgot to go to the shop, so I've been at a meeting, get home, and oh, can I eat? I've got whole chickens in the freezer. I'll just use one of those.
How many freezers have you got?
I've got massive chest freezers.
Yeah.
Massive chest freezers, we can hold a couple of hundred chickens at a time. So, but here's the thing: if you're on a real budget, it's looking for opportunity. Sometimes it's a case of saving and trying to buy in bulk. I think, when you get the frozen packs of mints, the really cheap mints, the fat content's going to be higher. But one thing I learned as a student is, I'm not even a student, as a young guy, you can cook that mince and drain off the fat.
Yeah, I prepped it that once.
So, well, just drain the fat off, and then, yes, it's gonna be less meat there, but the reality is, you just need some protein.
Yeah, yeah. It's worked wonders. I remember that economy pack, and when I could drink lots of milk.
Yeah.
Milk was like my pre-training drink where couldn't afford whey protein. So
I was gonna say milk's good. Yogurts are good.
Yogurts are great, and there's lots of brands here. And I think whey protein is it's expensive, but if you break it down per scoop, I did that once, it's actually not that much. So if it's up to you, if it's something you want to save up for, because the initial cost is quite high, they're sort of 7,500, 8 to 8,500 now.
Per scoop's good.
Per scoop works out pretty well. Like you can easily, do without that.
Yeah.
Maliwa Lala.
The Maliwa Lala, yeah.
Yeah, that is good stuff as well for protein content, and it's and then if you're lactose intolerant, camel milk, goat milk.
Yeah. No, there's which is all relatively,
I would say, it's not cheap in Kenya, I don't think, but in places like the UK, cottage cheese. Cottage cheese is almost like your curds and whey a little bit.
I don't understand why it's so expensive here.
I don't know, because it's a byproduct.
It makes no sense, and it's 500 shillings.
Yeah, no, it's so cheap in the UK because it's a byproduct of the cheese industry, essentially.
It's so like a luxury.
No, because I think Browns is essentially the only people that do it in Kenya, or were the only for the longest time.
Two of them, the other one is quite grim.
Like I think so. Browns have set the pricing essentially.
Pretty much.
Crazy. It's really crazy. But there's loads of other brands of good yogurt. But yeah, cottage cheese is such a good one. Yeah,
you can almost make that. You get taught to make cheese when I was at school.
Oh,
and like when I was young, like even separate the curds and whey.
Yeah.
So you used to drain like the milk thickens and you get like the curds on top, and you run it through essentially a pair of tights.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And you get that stuff that's in cottage cheese, which is like the whey and the curds run. That's the curds, and the whey is the liquid that runs off.
Yeah.
So you can then actually, it's a whey drink. It will taste rank, so I wouldn't drink it. Because with whey powder, they then dry it, hydrolyze it, and everything else. But but you can make your own stuff. But yeah, yogurt I think is possibly one of the greatest ones. There's a bit of a gimmick in the UK, high protein yogurts, which is great, low fat, but Greek style yogurt is high protein regardless. So in fact,
it's 10 grams of protein per 100 gram.
Yeah, which is good going for what it is, And the fact is, it is a case of doing what you can. You are not going to necessarily be able to, you will have to amend your activity levels to match your calories, because you probably have higher calories trying to do this on a budget to hit your protein, because there's going to be a lot of things like cheap mints will have higher fat content.
Yeah.
It'll be extra lean. Fish is a great one though. Fish, and we talked about this before the podcast that we recorded about the people that sell fish on the side of the road. Now, I wouldn't get by that, but if you can go to somewhere like Lake Navasha, you can go down to the actual lakeside and buy straight from fishermen, and it's so cheap. If you live on the coast, you're laughing. You can ask them. And actually, fish is so cheap. If you know anyone who does fishing, just try and get some fish on the cheap. You don't have to buy from the supermarket.
Yeah, that's why you find a lot of like guys who go to the gym or even construction workers down in the Kisumu side. They're all like hand cheats because
guys who work for me are all from Western, and they're all actually genetically pretty muscular because growing up they lived on the fish diet,
fish and chicken,
out doing like labor and stuff. So and that's the thing. It's like looking for what is available. What you have to do a bit more work. That is essentially it. If you really want it, you have to do a bit more work. You have to go out and talk to people working.
True.
Talk to shops and say, hey, can you let me know when things are going out of date?
Yeah.
Your butchers, and buy up that stuff as it goes out of date.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Because it's still good as long as you either freeze it immediately or cook it.
Yeah.
It's good.
So speak to butchers.
Yeah.
And try and create a deal. They don't want to waste stuff, but they don't want to waste stuff, so they rather sell it. And if you say that on a budget, it's a case of trying to be thoughtful about what you do. So I think fish is cheap. Dairy, things like milk and yogurt will be a saving thing, especially for snacks with a bit of oats. Eggs. Get if you can, buy a few chickens. If you got space, if you don't live in an apartment, you live or if your family has a shamba somewhere, get some chickens there, and get them to collect the eggs for you, and once a week go collect your eggs. And that would probably be good. I remember having 10 chickens, and at some point, we had loads at one point, but we were getting too many eggs.
Yeah.
Getting so many eggs, I was like, oh geez, what am I going to do with all these eggs? I was just giving them away to people. I was like, this is ridiculous. So that's the point. It's like, from a few chickens, if they're good layers, you can actually get consistent eggs. And if you let them lay all week and you gather them in boxes, you've got like a week's worth of eggs.
Sorted. And then you can make, have a 3-egg whole egg and then add in extra egg whites. And you can easily get a 30 to 40 gram of protein meal right there. No, eggs are amazing, and they're just packed with
Well,
nutrients.
that's the thing. They're complete amino profile.
They
You're
make
laughing with an egg. They've got everything in it.
everything, and I mean, some people you can sort of powder the shells and get extra calcium if you want.
Yeah.
If we're going that route,
But you can. I've done it for the dogs.
yeah,
Grind up the shells and stuff.
put them in a low heat for a couple of hours and then crush them. Just if people follow me, they know I eat odd bits, but often the odd bits are cheaper. If you're eating harder cuts of the animal, that most people don't want because it takes a lot of cooking, but they're actually the most nutritious, and you'll get a lot of gelatin from them. So,
yeah, exactly. I was gonna say, so a big thing in the UK at the moment is snout to tail cooking, where restaurants will try and use snout to tail. We'll try and use everything on an animal in some way. Now, Kenya's good for this, though, but the problem is certain things already have a bit of a market in Kenya. I remember trying to find some stuff for the dogs.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, people buy that, which is great. But like certain things, though, I grew up eating things like beef tongue.
mm-hmm.
Like beef tongue is great. We used to have tongue sandwiches. I quite liked it.
Yeah,
It's a big bit of meat essentially, but really cheap. Tail.
so good. Oxtail.
Oxtail, yeah. It could be anything. And the thing is also, think about bone marrow.
Oh, just had
yeah, like bone marrow is full of goodness.
so nutritious, and no, I think that's such a good one. Like and it is becoming more popular, like in the UK and abroad. Here, it's always been like people I always ate that. But so make the most of it because it is often cheaper.
Well, I would say liver is a sad thing. It's expensive relatively because it's so popular. Liver in Kenya, but other places in the world, liver's actually really cheap because it used to be popular and now it's kind of gone out of favor a little bit because people just can't be bothered with it. Because you can buy like desiccated liver capsules. But the fact is, that's another thing that pancreas, spleen, kidney, things like that. Kidney's still eaten quite a lot in the UK with like steak and kidney, like beef and kidney and pies and stuff.
Here
it's very good for you.
Yeah, here they're more like say roadside food in the evenings where you go and I'm sure if anyone's listening and they're familiar with Kenya, they know like the mutura where it's the intestines filled in with the meats and all this.
That's good. Like, and because it's gonna be cheap as long as you can trust the guy cooking it.
Yeah, that's
the hygiene. If you find a good one though, a guy you trust, that sort of food. When I was in Thailand, I lived on roadside food. It was cheap. We were competing, we were training, and there was a case of like we would find one person we trusted who was cooking and selling well. It was so cheap, and we would just have like they would make egg fried rice with like bits of meat we didn't question about. We would just make it in a pan quickly and just give it to you in a little tray. And it was so cheap. But we lived on that stuff.
Yeah.
And I think you would be way better off spending your money, like forget all the supplements.
100%.
Liver. Yeah. Go and eat your organ meats. That's where you'll get all your.
Yeah, you're better off buying food than you are buying supplements.
Yeah, supplements
always. Yeah, like if spend your money on if you can, on your on like some good meat. Doesn't need to be organic, anything like that. And then look for some liver or some organ meats.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of rotate through all of those and then have one plant-based meal or more if you need it in a day, but just be sure that you're combining your proteins to get a complete protein. And this will be easier if you're trying to build muscle because the extra calories from all the carbs will be useful. If you're in a fat loss phase, a little bit different, but again, being such a great it's not a perfect source of protein, but if you're combining it properly and if you're cooking your beans properly, like soaking them overnight, that's fantastic.
Well, here's the thing though, like if you want a relatively cheap filling meal, as I said about like fried rice, you make like a rice-based stir fry. You throw some meat in, you throw some beans in, you have some rice there, you mix your vegetarian protein source as well. Tofu. Silk and tofu is not particularly expensive. It's not that expensive. You can buy a big block at in Kenya, and it's not that expensive. Tofu's relatively cheap.
Yeah, I guess it's just you don't hear it because not too many.
Yeah, but if you go over to say like Parkland side or to where there's Indian grocery stores, you will find silk and tofu blocks, and it's good and it's cheap. But you can mix things in and make a big batch of food, which is a lot cheaper than making individual meals. So you just cook a massive pot of something. I still do this here. I work it out. Like I like to do this. I like to try and work out how much. So I'll spend, say, go shopping, spend £30, so 5,000 shillings. That works out, and I'll make 12 meals out of it in the big cooker, the big slow cooker, and it works out, £1.60 a meal or something ridiculous.
Yeah, which is
one meal I made, the other day. What that £1.60? I was like, it's brilliant.
That is, and I mean,
like I can, you can't, that is what 200 something shillings a meal, which just and it was 30 grams of protein.
that's so cool.
35 grams of protein. So so you can, it's cooking in bulk will save you a lot. The only thing is you need to have a fridge to stick it in.
Well, that's like, I mean, like I always say this to Liam, like our best investment was a freezer, not as huge as yours, but it's probably like a quarter of the size. But it's so good because it lets you buy in bulk. And then if you are cooking and you need to freeze stuff, you can do that. So that is something I would save up for, maybe like even over your gym equipment, is save up for like a good size fridge, a freezer, and then like good food containers, because then you can easily bulk prep. And bulk buy, and in the long term that is going to save you so much money. And the same for your dry goods, like make your meal plan, make your shopping list, bulk buy dry goods once every couple of months, and like
get used to eating the same food. That's the thing, just get used to eating the same thing. I don't get bored of eating the same thing. I'll eat the same thing for lunch and dinner. I'm not, I'd even eat it for breakfast, but I have a little bit of whey powder and oats. But, the fact is, I could have 5 meals a day, all the same, and I have done before.
Yeah, if it works
it's never
for you,
it's never bothered me.
Nutrients, but so I mean, you can buy those big plastic bins, store your beans, your rice, your maize, or whatever it is, store all of that. But it's
big
all
sacks of rice are great investments. Because bulk it out, and you just got to think beans, big bags of beans. So you're better off, saving before start saving for the food in bulk. More than anything else. Get a lot of eggs, the rice, whatever protein sources you can get, and then just make a big batch of something. And think, if you really are chasing gains, worry less about taste. Honestly, I make my food, all my food tastes good, but fact is, I learned a long time ago, if I throw hot sauce into anything, it tastes good. So, and that's relatively cheap. I throw it on everything. Just it makes it all good. And spices and herbs and things don't cost a lot. But fact is, it doesn't have to be boring. I always say food doesn't have to be boring. But if your main thing is budget and hitting muscle, building some muscle, buy bulk, eat the same food, worry less about taste, just fill that pot with everything that's going to help you achieve your goal. And then throw some hot sauce on at the end and you'll be good.
But I always think a lot of people use that as an excuse, because I remember like growing up, we'd have a timetable, sort of like an eating timetable.
Certain food on certain days,
it's ugali, this. And then it changed every maybe month or two, just not that much, but it'd be like, okay, instead of rice, maybe we'll do spaghetti.
It's basically what would happen is your mum would learn the recipe somewhere.
And then
you just throw it in one of the days. That's usually what would happen. You'd have the same food every day until she learned something new, and that would go into there.
You did the same thing, Monday is ugali day, Sunday is like, chapatis, and that's how it was. No one really complained, but you knew food was prepped like this. Breakfast, everyone had 3 slices of bread. You don't have more. The bread is meant to last for 2 days, or, like there was a structure, and and guys follow that, most houses. And then later on, the same person kind of like, nah, I don't, I'm a bit, I get bored easily. And it's like, you haven't really tried, there's,
It's the same with training.
yeah.
You find something that works, progress it
And
until you can't progress it anymore, and then change it.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
it's no different, Find what digests well,
yeah,
keep
it's
it.
like, add some hot sauce next time, throw in some.
Yeah, and if you throw something in and you don't digest it well, take it out again.
it's like you say, Andy, like herbs and spices are cheap. We have plenty here. You
so
can eat. I mean, that's what we do. Like our actual meal prep is so basic.
Cheers.
But then you make it tastier. Each to their own, however they likes it. And I would say, like, you've just costed your meal to £1.60, like 200 shillings. Like how much money we save as well just by that, like bulk buying, bulk cooking. And honestly, just forget all supplements. Just spend your money on what we've just said, because so many people.
Best investment's a massive pan. Buy a massive souffleria.
Yeah.
What is it called?
Not even that, but just a big souffleria that you can do cooking in. And I mean, like when you're cooking meats and stuff, the tough ones, like you need to simmer that for a couple of hours. So, but keep all that liquid for cooking other things, rice, like keep the bones. You can make your own bone broth, that kind of thing. So I think, first of all, is like have a good meal plan, like for what you're going to eat for that week, that month. Shop accordingly for it, and save for the space, save for all of that.
Keep to write a list, and this is something I'm really bad at. If it's not on a list,
Don't buy.
If I go to a shop without a list, I can come back with anything.
Yeah,
because I just start picking up random stuff. If I go with a list, the problem is if it's not on the list, I don't buy it. If I forgot to put something on the list, I get home and I will keep to that list, and that's the only things I'm buying. And I think that's important especially if you try to shop on a budget.
Yeah.
You go to a shop with a list, you keep to it. You work out roughly how much things are going to cost before you go in. You make sure you got that money. That's going to feed you for at least the next week.
Yeah, and I think also mentally, it's just less stressful thinking about all the time. And it's like you said, every month it's
I love bulk
much on
cooking because what's worse? What's the worst thing, especially when you got a partner? You come in and go, "What do you want for dinner?" Oh, I don't know. What do you want? I don't know. What do you want? Yeah, and you just chat for about 2 hours about what you're gonna make, and it gets late, and you're like, oh, but like if you've already got something in the fridge, yes, pull it out. Go, here we go. This is what we're having. You know what you're having. There's no question. I mean, you can get on with the rest of your evening doing something interesting, or
It's just the best thing, and it just saves you so much time as well. And then you can, what's it called? Like decision fatigue. Like it's all there for you. You know what it is, and like DMs I get, like what supplements should I get for this or that? It's like just leave all of that. Like you don't need creatine, you don't need whey, you don't need your branched chain amino acids.
Don't go looking for steroids if you can't afford food.
Exactly.
It's crazy. It's like you have enough, you're thinking you have enough money to buy all this, say, steroids and supplements, and yet you're complaining how training and eating healthy is expensive.
Exactly.
And then
priorities in order.
It is, and like just reduce your eating out if you eat out. Reduce your drinking.
That's a big one, I think.
Reduce your drinking, please, because that is.
Yeah, but here's the thing: it's going to fight against it. It's not cheap. I think about when I was a young guy. We would just drink like the amount I'd spend on a weekend.
Yeah.
You're like.
Oh,
and then once you've had a few drinks, you're just gonna grab a pizza or something like a kebab in the UK. Oh, which is actually like kebabs.
Yeah.
But like the fact is, keep to your budget.
Keep to it, but it's crazy. Like what people will save for going out and drinking, but they will not save for coaching, for food, things like that. It's crazy. So it really is your priorities. And
what's the thing? It's like if you're listening to this podcast, you've probably got your head in a slightly different prioritized way. You're thinking about health and fitness, which means it shouldn't be hard to put that as your priority. That is your priority. One thing I'll say is, if you've got kids, you've got family, that's your priority, and then work everything else from that. But my daughter eats what I eat. When
Yeah,
Bolt cooks, she's eating out food.
yeah. I was going to
She
say
is. She doesn't moan about it. She just cracks on with it. You
Yeah.
know?
yeah.
So good.
I was going to say the choices, like you said, say for parents, the choices you make with your meals and just your lifestyle will impact, the everyone around you. So it's a
Well, here's the thing. I don't eat anything I
example.
wouldn't give my daughter.
Yeah.
It's a healthy meal. It's full of protein. The only thing we change around is portion sizing, maybe. Or
Mm,
she said, she'll just not. If I give her the same portion as me, she just won't finish it. So, which is all good. Go. You can have the rest tomorrow.
yeah.
Um, That's the thing. It's like she's in her own training for Brazilian jiu-jitsu. So for her, I'm like, well, this is how this is how you prioritize. Your food is ready. You get a bit of variation in your school packed lunch, but outside of that, your dinner is the same as what I'm going to eat.
Yeah.
And
Perfect.
she has the same breakfast as me: porridge and protein powder.
Nice.
Oh,
No, it's
nice.
it's so easy to do that. Like, yeah, with a family, you don't need to, be cooking everyone separate things. Like, again, bulk cooking is amazing. And I mean, when it comes to like information and coaching, like look for good podcasts. We've done whole episodes on how to program where you can, look for those. Or if you've saved up a bit, we have different budgets of coaching. You can just do group coaching, which is 5,000 a month, or you can find a coach who does group coaching, and that's usually a bit cheaper. And I mean, if you want to like save up for bespoke coaching, you can just do it for like the limited time.
Yeah,
And that can set you up for, forever. That's the
that's
goal
amazing.
with a good coach, is that you can take all of that and apply it. And I've done that with so many people. Like they've got so far and they're a bit stuck. That's where it's so good to have a coach get you through that, and then you take all of that information and you can keep going.
And here's the thing: I've done packages for people so the longer you pay for a block, so a 6-month block of coaching works out cheaper per month than paying it monthly.
Mm.
So, I've worked out things where people, 6 months, you can pay for 6 months up front. You can save up for that. And then you've got coaching for 6 months and you don't have to worry. And you learn a lot. Like I would say, 3 months of coaching, you can learn a lot
Mm-hmm.
in that time. But here's the thing, we've given hundreds of hours or over 100 hours of free content through the podcast.
Yeah, over
You
100.
listen to everything. You listen to every episode, and then there's lots of other podcasts and there's lots of other YouTube videos. You can actually get by. It's not the same as coaching because it's not a personalized thing, but you can increase your own knowledge initially, get yourself to a point where actually I've listened to everything. I can apply this. I've made these gains, and get yourself to a point where, okay, I need now a little bit more personalization. I need to
Yeah, yeah.
work
Mm-hmm.
this on. I've saved up this money. So that's never, when we started, especially, myself, it was the only information was either the guys in the gym or magazines.
Magazine,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's it. They were all keeping up our magazines. That's what we realized at the time. It was mainly marketing. Those magazines had more pages of
Oh
adverts
my gosh.
then content, and even sometimes you thought you were reading an article, but actually it was just a sales,
Just yeah.
muscle tech or something at the end. You know, so that's the thing. Like we were getting fed a lot of false information, but now there's a lot of good content creators, a lot of top level coaches giving free content. Look at the Train by JP app. That's relatively cheap a month.
Mm-hmm.
What you get, there's a lot of knowledge on there. There's, obviously various podcasts. You can find people like Lane Norton, online and get some,
Oh, YouTube
Brad
is
Schoenfeld. There's YouTube channels. So there's a lot of content out there to get you started.
Yeah.
You don't need to get started following a trainer. The trainer comes in useful when, good as if you can afford to start with a trainer because they prevent you building bad habits.
Yeah.
Especially with lifting and stuff. But reality is you can learn a lot from you know social media content that's out there and get yourself to a point where you are ready to be coached to take your physique to the next level.
Hmm.
For instance, if you want to get into bodybuilding, for instance, you can build your foundation training on your own. You can even get enough information out there to prep yourself, right? You could read, Scott Stevenson, you read his book, buy his book, invest by buying his book. But at some point, you will probably want that personal touch, so you don't make mistakes in the last few weeks. You don't, in your prep, you don't, over diet or under diet because your head's not quite clear. So that's where you start thinking, like, this is what I want, but I'm really tight on a budget now. So what I'm going to do is, as much as I can, as cheaply as I can initially, and as my fortunes increase or things improve for me, I will start saving. I will start then putting money aside for this, and then that's how you make passions reality. You even, like, for instance, you want you want to increase your education. You want to do a course. The best thing to do is save a little bit of money over time. Read everything that's free to read about that subject until you've built enough money to actually do a formal course. And by that, you've got some good base knowledge, which will then carry you through. It's the same with training. Training's no different. You build your foundation knowledge. You get yourself into a coachable state before you spend money on coach. If you're not coachable and you spend money on coach, you will not get the best out of it. Anyway.
And there's so many free online courses. Like I've had guys on Instagram ask, "Oh, where did you do this or see that?" And I'm like, it's free. But sometimes it's also, well, I guess social media depends on how one consumes. But I think some people just waste time, and then it's like, how do I get? And it's like you're just probably following the
cut out
people, but not the people.
Cut out the influencers and look for the educators.
And that, because there's so I know, like Lane Norton does a lot of free, webinars. 30 minutes. You have Scott Stevenson. Like, there's so many free.
Like Fundara Gabrielle, she has great.
Follow all her podcasts and like look at her webinars and even the content she shares in her stories is useful. And you've got like Scott McNally, who's been on this show, and you look at what he does through his YouTube channel. There's a lot of information going out, and these websites,
if you
these YouTube channels, you can find good stuff there. I listen to everything with Dr. Scott Stevenson on. Every time him and the two Scots get together, I make that a priority listen always.
You always learn something new from that. And I just say that if you have a specific issue, then it can really be worth having a coach to save you along the line. Like, I know so many people who again just go and just buy all these supplements or all this other kind of weird stuff that they think they need, and like, you just need to work on the basics.
Well, that's half the issue. It's it's knowing what to consume and when. The reality is, and this is the problem, it's knowing how to apply that knowledge and when to apply the knowledge. And that's sometimes what you need a coach for, because you can take on all the knowledge. If you don't know how to actually apply that, or you've got problems in the application of that knowledge, it's just going to be useless to you. Also, it's not jumping too far ahead. I think that's why you've got to kind of build your knowledge base from the ground. And so something we've talked about here is about getting your big rocks in place before you get the little ones. But if you look across all our podcasts, there's a lot of, you go from the beginning. There's a lot of that. It's a lot of the foundation stuff in the beginning, and we've added topics on top. And that's how you build your knowledge. So what you want to do is I would consume all the foundation knowledge, then if you can afford it, go to a coach, and then learn how to apply all that.
Exactly. So I mean, just to touch quickly on blood work, because that here is very expensive. But again, like, if it's your priority, you can save up for it. If you've got good insurance, you can see what they'll cover, what they won't cover. And again, this can be useful where you work with a coach so that you can get comprehensive blood work is of course the most useful, but you can learn a lot. I think we were saying last week, just from doing a full blood count, liver and kidney panels, you can learn so much. And those are not expensive.
Here's the thing. It's like, do you think there's a problem?
Yeah.
If you think there's a problem, that needs to be your priority. Looking, saving up and getting full panels
Yeah.
because there's a problem there. Now, if you're just doing it to look for health markers, it doesn't have to be all that. As you just said, blood count, liver enzymes, kidney
Lipid
function.
panel.
Yeah, get your lipid panels, and then maybe if you can, get your thyroid looked at the same time.
Yeah, and again, I said this, like, if you are, a woman who's going into bodybuilding, like, just get your thyroid checked. Right, if you do that test and you're paying out of pocket, it will maybe come to 5K. That is 5K well spent, because that will save you so much if you are not ready to be in a fat loss phase. So just, you can reach out to any of us. We know the costs, we can give you budgets. If you're listening to this overseas, we can tell you where you can get your blood work done in the US and the UK, where it's so much cheaper.
Way cheaper.
I mean, it's still like, you'll probably have to save up a bit for it, but like Andy said, don't just be doing it because we go on and on about blood work. Unless you think you've got something going on, you don't necessarily have to do it. I still think
for a lot of people, blood pressures probably start there, and glucose readings and things like that.
Good one.
Things that you can just do yourself at home initially. If your blood pressure is completely off the wall, you should be going to the doctors anyway.
Yeah.
If you've got normal blood pressure, that means most likely your kidney function's good, because high blood pressure will affect your kidneys long term. So there's the thing you got to look at. Blood glucose, long term effects of having untreated high blood glucose is problematic. We're talking diabetes, but even pre-diabetes can be problematic. Damage your eyesight, damage your brain. There's lots of stuff that happens from, getting diabetes. So, so those things you can do, and then stage it up a little bit.
That's such a good point, Andy. And the glucometer itself is not that expensive. It's just the strips. But, if you're here, you might have listened to our episode with Fleur Williamson on diabetes. And like, if you go to Mombasa, you can bulk buy them there for cheap. So, there's ways and means around all of it. But yeah, just testing those two things at home, you can start with that. And even just going by your symptoms, you can be like, maybe this is, I think I might have this, but then talk to someone who knows what they're doing. Don't just, again, go out and buy a ton of supplements because you think you have estrogen dominance, because the supplements are expensive here. And
you don't know you are estrogen dominant. That's the point. And that's the thing. Unless you actually know, and it's what we talked about last week, what are you supplementing? In fact, you could be over supplementing in certain areas, which then causes blocks of other things, and causes worse problems.
Yeah.
So
I think the biggest waste of money is on supplements for people trying to get into health and fitness. Like, for so many I would say 90% of the clients that come and work with me, I'm like, whoa, let's strip this all back to basics. What we've just said, like, get back to just eating balanced, consistent meals, making sure you've got protein. And like, that doesn't have to be expensive.
I've seen it. We've all been in Health for You when someone comes in and there's to one of the people working there, the salespeople, because they're not medically trained. They pretend they might be, but they go in, and it does have to be Health for You. It can be any of those big pharmacies that sell supplements. I've just started training at a gym. What's going to help me? And what they realize, exactly. I mean, you just start filling up a shopping trolley, and you're like, well, I've laughed. I've been in there, and like, I've seen like, a young guy asking someone, and the guy in the shop was, I can't remember where it was. It might have been the Health for You. Was telling him, oh yeah, you'll need this mass bulker, you'll need this creatine, you'll need this. Putting it in, I was like, I had a word with him. I was like, you don't need any of that. Just eat properly.
I've been that young guy. I remember.
Yeah, same here. You waste your money. Tell me your story, Leon. Go on.
I was just saying, way back there was the Hilton Arcade in town.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was one of the two shops that you could get supplements, and you just walk past and you're seeing pictures of the Ronnie Colemans, and then guys working inside, and every day it's just like, oh, I need to. And I remember stepping in, and they're like, oh yeah, here, fill this form, come, we weigh you out, and then at the end you get a list. You'll need this mass gainer, this for this, and at the end you're like, whoa, 18K. This is This is back when 18,000 was a lot of money.
Oh, it's still a lot. Yeah, that's the point. It's still a lot of money. When you don't have a lot of money,
Yeah.
80K is a lot of money.
Yeah, is there one I can start with first? And they're like, great.
Someone's rent.
Creatine then was also like, it's cheap. It's a bit cheaper now. I think then they'd sell it like 3, 5, 4, 5, and that's then in high school. And you're like, okay, that's lunch for the whole time. Done, not eating.
Which is so silly because you'd be so much better off eating.
The food's more important than the supplement, and that's the reality. And we've all been there, getting told what you need to do.
Oh yeah.
And because of that, I'm happy to tell, young guys or women, you don't need that stuff. You don't need it. I've never, in my adult life, outside of probably maybe 20 years ago, used a mass gainer.
Mm-hmm.
If I want a mass gain, I just eat a lot of food. And that's the reality. So if I need to, I'm quite lucky I can eat a lot of food. But if I struggle to eat food, then I would use a mass gainer. The fact is, I would start with the food.
Yeah, and then
I'd rather spend that money on good food and a lot of it than spend 18K on shopping.
yeah.
You cover everything. You have a good bit of shopping there.
Wow.
It's just, and I mean, women, I think, just
every
guys
herbal supplement with different things, isn't it?
And all these superfood powders.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
You don't need them. You don't. Again, spend that money on liver. Then you're sorted. Like, spend it on a good quality meat.
Here's the thing. If you don't like liver, this is something I learned. I used to blend it, like crush it and put it through a grinder, and then mix it with lean beef mince.
Yeah.
And then cook it in like a chili or whatever, a pot. And then you just don't even notice the liver because I'm not a massive liver fan. I think I've had lots of liver in my life. My parents love liver, really good for growing up. My mum's dad was Irish, and we make a lot of liver and potato and stuff. And then there's one time I was in Somalia, stuck in Mogadishu for a little while. People trying to kill me, and we lived on liver essentially, for a little while, and I was like, we can eat it. It's just not a flavour I particularly like. So, but I do like to incorporate it into my cooking. So I found a way of just, I mean, I would do this with any sort of organ essentially. Just put it through a grinder. And you can even ask probably a butcher to grind it for you.
Oh yeah.
No.
And just go run it through the grinder for me, make it, and then it come out. Catch it in a pot, and then you just chip it in with your mince, and you don't even notice it's there then.
Yeah. So like,
and especially if you've got kids who don't like and moan about liver and things, do that, they won't even notice there.
Exactly. Good tip. And so leave the moringa, leave the spirulina, baobab powder,
maca,
leave the expensive greens powders.
And this is one for men. Maca does not improve erectile function. If you've got erectile dysfunction, there's probably more going on mentally than physically half the time. So maca's not going to sort you out.
Yeah. So healthy you is your last stop. So maybe just to
if you've got enough money, crack on with your supplements for ones you actually need.
Yeah, listen to last week's episode.
Yeah, ones you actually need, and use your money. But if you are on a budget, the last place you should be visiting is a supplement shop.
Yeah, steer clear, save your money. So I think, to sum up, like, have a plan, like, even before you even start, like, get your budget, go surf Facebook, see what equipment maybe you can pick up. Go to Decathlon's website. You can just, make a budget of the equipment we've suggested there. Then you can, if you're thinking long term, you can bide your time for certain sales for things like freezers. Like, you can get some really good sales. Get a good freezer, a fridge with enough space.
As you said, look for an expat leaving.
Yeah.
I bought two. Well, at one point, two massive chest freezers. One broke. I've got one massive chest freezer and another chest freezer, which I got all from people leaving.
So
nice.
It's and you can, because they're probably quite desperate to get rid of something like that you buy it for such a good price. So, and then with your nutrition, have your meal plan, your ingredients, do your bulk shopping. As Andy said, like go chat to your butcher, look for the offcuts, don't, get your chickens, eat your
use the friendships and family connections.
Yeah.
Mm.
Do you have any family members who are in the farming business or fishing business or anything that you can say that what can you give me a deal or something? Don't forget it is their business, so don't try and screw them.
Yeah.
But just see if you can find some sort of mutually beneficial deal.
Yeah. Exchange services or something.
Exactly.
Yeah. And and kind of take it from there, and just really think like those basics always come through. The basics will always come through. You don't need to get all these crazy supplements. You really don't. And then
here's another thing. Sorry, going back to training, I was thinking about how you get cheap gym membership. If you're, say, a young student, or you don't have a job and you're looking for gym membership, try and get a part-time job as a cleaner or something in a gym.
Yeah.
They will probably they'll pay you, but also you'll probably be allowed to use the facilities.
Yep.
Good idea.
Yep.
Yeah.
A part-time job is go do gym qualification, go work in a gym as a part-time job.
Yeah. No, true. And just I've always said this, like if you want something, you will prioritize that. Like if for whatever reason you want creatine, just put aside a little bit amount for that. If you want to get your blood work done, I saved up for mine, because I made that a priority. Like then it's your sacrifices. Like we don't go out, we don't drink, we use that money to buy. And for some meats, we'll go for, when we can, pasture raised, regenerative, just for certain ones, not all the time. That kind of thing. So it really is where your priorities lie with this. But again, you can build a great physique on a budget. And again, like so many of those bodybuilders that we've interviewed here, when they started out, like their physiques were still amazing. And I think it was before we came on the podcast, they were eating tins of tuna.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like I grew up, knowing more protein for the sports I was doing. I would just eat tuna with Tabasco sauce.
Yeah.
Throw that Tabasco sauce in and eat it. Just drain it, eat it out of a can with a fork.
Yeah. Here it was eggs and milk. So, but milk.
Whatever you can get hold of, eggs and milk.
Yeah, buying the Tetra Pak for 18 shillings then. I don't know. Now we buy it in bulk, but I remember my dad would probably give me like 50 to 100 bob, and I'd be able to budget with my milk, eggs, beans, and and probably rice. And then I guess I enjoyed it more, so I'd plan for that. And any money he'd give me, I'd just eat. And he didn't understand, but you can do it on a budget.
You find a way. As Peter said, it's a priority. You find a way.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're someone who likes designer clothes or that kind of thing, like your priorities are not in the right place for that.
If you're saving up to have the best gym clothes, you're struggling to buy food. And it's like what we were saying with steroids. If you're looking at that before you've got decent food on your plate,
take 2 steps back.
And then again, just look for what's realistic for you. Again, in terms of habits as well. Like if you've paid a gym membership and it's 45 minutes away, that might not be the best idea. Like and you've said this in many podcasts, like look what's close to your place of work, so that you could just do that on the way home. So just requires some more thinking and planning from you, and seeing how you can fit it all in.
100%.
Yeah. Right. Well, I hope that is useful. And I mean, this is coming from the people of bulk cooking, preparing. Like, you can eat good food cheap if you make it yourself and you bulk cook it. Like,
if you're not on a budget, think all the savings you could do from bulk cooking and putting up money to something else. Maybe have an extra holiday a year.
Yeah. We will forever advocate the bulk cooking, and then it's good. So I hope you enjoyed that, and we will see you in our next episode.
Yeah.